It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.
Kyle Lowry. Welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast. I am your host, Freddie Rivas, and who, good sir, are you?
If you scroll down to the credits, you'll see producer. My name's Matt Duncan. How you doing?
You're so much more than that, Matt Duncan. For anyone watching on video, Matt really wanted everyone to see his Clarkson Leaf jersey. One of the best.
Wow, can't believe it. Yeah, I've had this jersey now over 7 years. What should be we should have just come to the end of his contract, and boy, what a great 7 years it was. A couple Stanley Cups. He was the next Wendell Clark.
Son.
Yeah, but you have to, unfortunately, you have to take that Sliders hole, if you guys remember the show Sliders, and that's where you're going to see that world.
Wow.
Some alternate.
When you said you have to take that Sliders hole, I was like, oh my God. Matt, this is a basketball podcast, and this is a hockey reference, and people are probably tuning out. But now you brought it back to Sliders, so they're tuning back in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, even they could use the weird thing they switch around in Sliders to slide into this. Okay. Welcome to the podcast, everybody. We are a Raptors fan pod, but we also talk NBA. We're not insiders, but we are hardcores. Matt, if people want to find us, help us out, wear an anti-itch toque.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How do they do all that?
Well, you're going to want to start easily. The most easiest way, okay, is go to dunkspodcast.com because we've got links for everything there. It's like you're at a basketball game, the guy's coming down with that tray of popcorn and treats, and he's whipping them down the aisle at you. That's what our website is. It gets you to where you need to go. You can also listen to the episodes there, but you can also go to thesonarnetwork.com. That is the podcast network we are a part of. You can check out all the podcasts there. We are also on, obviously, all the Apple Podcatcher stuff and the Stitcher and the Google Podcasts, if you like doing that kind of thing, or even Player FM. And we do have a Patreon if you'd like to support us that way. And we do have anti-itch toques, Confederacy of Dunks branded. They're pretty comfortable, I got to say so myself. And we do have those on Shopify. Get your orders in, and that thing will be sent in the mail faster than you can say Antetokounmpo.
Wow. Oh. Matt, folks, if you're listening out there, that's how a pro throws down. And I won't even comment on the analogy of the candy slinger throwing pelting things at people, because it's just a good time. And I want to get right into this podcast. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I mention the amazing accomplishment of the Atlanta Dream. Just because I did mention that Georgia won the two Democratic seats, Raphael Warnock and Ossoff. I'm forgetting his first name for some reason. Greg?
John? Is it John?
John? I think it's John Ossoff.
Yeah.
And, that's incredible. And it's such, precarious, ugly, and scary times.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember kind of how that all started. And during the Black Lives Matter movement in the bubble and the respective wobble of the WNBA, which is they affectionately call it, Kelly Loeffler, who was the senator for Georgia, one of the senators, decided to critique Black Lives Matter as she's, fairly openly racist. And, not only did the women of the Dream not just take it, they kind of raised the stakes, and they actually wore Vote Warnock jerseys to their game.
She's the part owner of the team.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you, Matt. Yes, that's a super important part. Kelly Loeffler's a part owner of the Atlanta Dream.
Yeah.
So Exactly. So that is like you're speaking to truth. You're also sticking it to your boss, and you're doing it for all of the right reasons. And it wasn't just that like kind of symbolic thing they maintained throughout the campaign, and really did help to buoy Warnock, who they got to the runoff and he won. So I think that's just an awesome thing to share, and just a reminder to continue to fight for everyone. And just to appreciate, Black Lives Matter, defund the police, and email your city councilors. The fight is here in Canada as well, obviously. Yeah. We don't want no angel complex O'Toole stuff here. Yeah, Aaron O'Toole, Aaron O'Goole, I say. Let's keep the pressure on, and Maddie, let's get to talking some ball. If you're ready, please, good sir, just give me those sweet, sweet words. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's bring on guest number one. I had her on the pod for the first time a little while ago. We've known each other for a long time. We did comedy together. She's hilarious. She's a wicked stand-up, improviser, hardcore Raptor fan, hardcore Stanimal fan. So I feel like this is a big year for her. Give it up as loud as you can, even if you're at home alone, for George Brooks.
Hi.
Hey. This is your like anthem, chosen or not.
Great. It's very me.
Yeah. Does it feel like it properly encompasses the year of Stanley Johnson?
Yeah, it's like methodical and not too much.
I like that. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, he's been reining it in. He's been kind of doing a good job, not bobbling the ball this year. There was like one hilarious GIF, obviously, but he's got the free throw dunk too. So he's got different things going on.
Yeah.
But let's bring on guest number two. I forced you two to have some small talk about LA before the pod. I think it was some good small talk. There was some Burbank Airport stuff in there. He's an amazing dude. He's a moderator of my favorite place on the internet, a Facebook Raptors group called Gimme Some Raptors. He's just a wonderful marketing masterpiece of a man. Give it up as loud as you can, even if you're at home alone, for Andre de Pape.
Hey.
Okay, this is one of those songs I forgot about. I'm like, man, this is like Ninja Turtles walking down the street.
Totally. There's a big amphibian vibe going on. Sounds like a frog.
I was gonna say, are those like Croc sounds in the back?
Yeah. Actually, Crocs my favorite footwear, so very appropriate. Thank you very much.
I lost my way in my intro sentence, and I think I called you a marketing masterpiece.
Hey, I like it.
Is that cool?
Yeah, sure. I like it.
When I said it, I was like, you know what? I won't even know when I'm having a seizure, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to warn others. Let's talk some Raptors ball, because there's a ton to talk about. Maddie, if you're there, and I know you are, I hope you are, but I know you are as well. Please, good sir, give me your most delicious Raptors sting.
Raptors
Sorry. That's a thing. You know what? Maybe I'll start getting like messages about how that's like just way too annoying to do, but I just want to. Let me go to you first, Andre. And yeah, just sorry, let me just look at my question better here. Oh yeah, right. It was just kind of about like Pascal. I think probably since the Phoenix game has looked a lot like himself. Maybe even the end of that Boston blowout when he had that angry dunk. Kyle said, we need our swagger, and that seemed to be, kind of like the team got their swagger back to a certain degree. I think Nurse trusts Boucher, which is massive in terms of minutes. You can see it in Boucher now. He's going to play every night. He's going to make an impact. Obviously, he's always going to have girth issues at the center position, but he's effective. And this 3-point shooting Boucher is like an absolute game changer. So what I'm kind of looking for is who do you think? Because we've done the trade stuff a little bit on the pod already, and I think it is a trade season, so that's fair. But until that point, we have to keep kind of looking around and figuring out who is going to do what. Nurse actually said, more guys are finding their role, sort of thing.
Right.
He was pretty annoyed by the starting lineup question, so for the sake, that's also a bit of a done topic on this pod too. So, yeah, just basically who do you think is who or what, I guess, is the next step for this team?
Yeah, I was thinking of this question, and the answer just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. It's the guy that's really being, I think, the thing holding us back is, weirdly enough, OG Anunoby. I think he was meant to do one of two things. One, he was either supposed to step up and become a more fundamental piece on offense. We've always known him to be a defensive linchpin, really important for that. But, we anticipated okay, well, maybe he's going to get a bit more aggressive, maybe take a small little leap into becoming a bit more of a lethal, well, maybe not lethal, but a better all-around offensive player. Mm-hmm. That hasn't happened, and really plateaued hard there. And then the other thing we're kind of hoping he would do is be this guy that can fill in gaps and solve problems. Oh crap, we don't have a center. Maybe we can play OG at center. And oh crap, we need whatever matchup situation. Let's throw OG in there to try and resolve. And he's been fine on that front. As far, he hasn't caused matchup problems, but he hasn't also solved matchup issues either. So I think for the most part, whether it was our expectations were out of whack or this is just one of those plateau years, and you hope that it's not a forebear for where he settles into his career. But for me, we've got our guard play really solid with Kyle and Fred. Norm is just bad, and you can say he's the problem, but he's also just not super duper fundamental. We've been a very, very good team with Norm being good, and we've been a very, very good team with Norm being average to bad. So him, it'd be a total cherry on top if he was good, but the guy that can't really take games off or really hurt us is OG. And I think that's where we're at right now, is we have Siakam riding the ship, Boucher's contributing, our guards are doing well. OG is kind of the guy that's holding us back.
Okay, I really like this take, and I think it's because when you first started kind of saying OG, I was like, he must be talking about somebody else. I feel like OG's totally fine, and I think that maybe is it right there.
Yeah.
And going back to last season where it's oh my god, he's guarding Jokic, and then the next game it's 7 steals against the Hornets. I think defense is hard to replicate these giant things. Gasol had that weird accomplishment of making Embiid go
0 points
in the game. And I think to defend OG, I think he really is he's not he can always be the center, but I think there has been a bunch of moments where his defensive versatility is incredible.
Yeah. And
it does seem like that the beginning of his season, I guess hesitance from 3 is over. It seems like he's starting to shoot more and better, but yeah, it's not like he's overperformed to the point of Fred, obviously, right? You know,
Right.
Fred, whether it's like off guard, point guard, finishing around the rim, the three, defense. Fred is like absolutely just like totally outperforming, you know, what we thought of him.
Fred is performing at a peak version of himself. You know, Kyle for games has been performing as a peak version of himself. Siakam's getting there, and you're right, like these last 5 games is like pretty close to peak version of Siakam, or at least where you want to see him. Yeah, I mean, there hasn't been a game that like OG. I mean, I was going to say there hasn't been a game he won for us, but then again, we're not winning any games, so it doesn't really matter.
And also, like, he still does have like, you know, I would say probably the second most badass win in Raptors history.
Yeah.
So like, as far as like winning games, he's like, I'm good for years.
Yeah.
But you know, I think in these tight games, we are looking for the guy who's going to tip it in, or like, you know, like, I think that's kind of the spirit of his question is like, Boucher is like, you know, I think like Pascal doing what he's supposed to is a bigger ask than OG, so it's a higher achievement.
Yeah.
Okay, George, I feel like we've been going forever. I hope we didn't take all the points away.
Yeah, no, I have nothing. No, I'm kidding. I do actually, I wasn't surprised when you said OG, because I feel like the problem I think with the Raptors right now is a lot of things, but one is that like Pascal is kind of the only guy that can. I know Freddie can score, but you know, in the last game he was like all assists, all defense, and that's so much energy that he didn't score a lot. And like we kind of only have Pascal, who is his role is to score, or to put the ball in the bucket. And like I think that's just a lot of pressure for him, and I don't feel like Pascal is actually amazing under pressure. And that's not like that's obviously a problem, but I don't think that's the biggest problem in the world. I think we need to put a team around him that can like take some of that pressure off, so that when we are in the crunch time, we can go to OG and we know he can put it in the hoop. And I know you're right that last year he really did have that huge bucket in crunch time, which was amazing, to like keep us in the series. But that he's not good for a year because of that. Like that needs to be consistent, because it's really not fair on Pascal for both of our like forwards, for only one of them to be like scoring. Like OG has been really hit or miss. Like he was like really missing all his threes, and like that's why we're losing. Like we don't have enough people who can score. Like we do have enough people who are really great at defense right now, finally, but only like in the starters. And I count Boucher as a starter, even though he's not. But do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, totally. And well, I think, you know, for me, I mean, I think the OG stuff is fair. I'm still like in the realm, I guess, of I guess I'm not faulting Kyle, Fred, OG, Pascal, or Boucher that much, because I feel like they're all giving us something. They're giving us like a structure to get in a winning area. Clearly, like we've lost by 1 point 2 nights in a row.
Yeah.
To good teams. And but you know, to your point, George, I think like watching like CJ, Melo, Dame all take turns in the clutch was kind of like, well, we don't have that. Like that's not how we roll. And watching, you know, I mean, I brought it up on the pod before, but it's like clutch goes both ways, and I think Fred is a hella tenacious defender, but watching him try to stop Melo from hitting a jumper is tough. Yeah. Or CJ or Tatum or Ingram. And I think that's like teams are like, all right, you're going to switch with us in the clutch, get a comfy mid-range and shoot over this guy who's 8 inches smaller than you. And that's, I don't know what to do about that. And like that brings me into like how do we make the whole thing better? And sorry, Andre, I feel like you got something.
No, I was just going to say, like, you kind of illustrated it there. Like, we don't cause any matchup problems, you know, like ever. Like even when we go small, like, I don't know. Yeah, we just don't cause any matchup problems because when we go small, it's not like Siakam and OG are these bigs that are running people off the court. I don't know. Yeah, it's just weird.
Our only matchup problem, and I don't understand why Fred is so good at guarding. Oh my God, Steph.
Yeah.
But
Right.
he's exceptional at guarding him. So I don't really know why that. First of all, I think he's an amazing defender across the board. But you're right. I don't know why those defects. Is it because Steph's not that tall? What is it?
Well, I think in that game, we saw I'm just guessing, but I think Oubre and they're not kind of putting the same type of physical pressure. Wiggins, not the same type of kind of Oubre is just nowhere near. He's not going to punish Kyle, so then I think it allows Fred to. It's like the overall connectivity allows Fred to do that against the Warriors, and he did a good job against Lillard too. But it's just kind of okay. Let me just because I feel like we're gonna keep kind of talking about the same stuff, but I wanna wiggle through. So George, sticking with you. Let's move this conversation into why do you think that we can't close games, or why can't we hold on to big leads? Oh wait, sorry, Matt had a cool stat scrolling across the StreamYard that I just want to point out. I think Pascal Siakam is wait, that was his first career triple double.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, hilarious! Well, I guess it immediately puts him in tied for fifth all time with Carter, Oakley, and Alvin Williams, among others. I'm hoping Pascal gets a couple more because it's one is cheers.
He almost got one the other night too, but then he got sat.
He's his playmaking's incredible. So I think that's something that is
that behind the back pass.
Oh my God.
In the first quarter was insane. Boucher didn't even know it was possible. He was like, what?
That was amazing. Okay, but yeah, sorry.
I was just saying him and Boucher really have a rhythm down, which is nice. Especially if Boucher does play a center role, it's nice that because you could tell with Baines, Siakam and him did not have a vibe going, and it is really, really nice to see that with Chris. They've got a little thing.
Yeah, and I think my kind of half answer to my own question about where do we find internal improvement is I think that taking Baines off the starting lineup, we have to figure out a way to integrate him into the bench, because that to me is that's one of those coach corrections that it's okay, well, you can't have run a couple practices and been this is the guy starting, and then be oh no, there's chemistry issues, and be he can't play a minute, and it's that's cool for a game or two, but I think then you maybe work him back. Maybe it's still you start small, but him and Boucher come in the bench to I think you still gotta, not necessarily Baines, but you to we can't go small. That's not the full option here. But okay, just to kind of keep going here, George. How do you think we close games?
Okay, well, for starters, I really think we need somebody who's as much of a shooting threat as Siakam, because since he's really right now the only guy that people are paying a lot of attention to block him from making a shot, we need there to be a second guy to take some of that pressure off, because it's hey, it's crunch time. There's 9 seconds left. We just got to really get on Siakam, because he's a guy, even though they were saying that wasn't even their first plan last time, it's just that there's not a lot of options we can go to. So then people can kind of just figure out how to block us for 9 seconds, I think.
Yeah. As far as the very last play, I think, I don't know, the last play to me is not that different even than the last 3 minutes, where when it starts to slow down, it seems it's the court closes up, and Pascal's the only one who can get an himself a decent shot. Fred was working some magic going to the rim, which is pretty new, but I don't think that someone his size reliably getting to the rim is a thing. Sorry.
I think it's the same answer though, even though I applied it only to the last 9 seconds. Like I know maybe this is like a basic basketball fan thing to say, but like we concentrate so much on defense, and I really appreciate that, and I think that's such a great thing. But unfortunately, like we also do have to be good at offense. Like we can't have these dry spells every game. And lately, those dry spells, like at least in last night's game, like I don't love that our dry spell came in the last 3 minutes of the game where we don't have any chance to get it back. And like that, the problem is that we need more people to be able to fucking score. Like it's important. Defense is important, and I'd rather have a stronger defensive team than offense, but you can't have like very little offense.
No, it's like we definitely have like a system and a structure that like works for the most part, but then you need guys to be able to break that structure. Like CJ was probably like, okay, what's the play? The play is shake and bake and pop it in Fred's eye, and I think like that was like accepted. And Melo has a green light in the last part of the game as well. And like I think Fred and Kyle do, but I think their offense is very flow of the game, and that's not what the end of the game is. So yeah, Andre, where are you at as far as like how do we close a game a little bit better, or like how do we start getting these wins?
Yeah. I mean, well, first of all, it comes down to actually closing out the fourth quarter. And I think we're leaving, we're either leaving too big of a hill to climb, or we've choked a lead, right? Like these are kind of the storylines of these games that we're losing. But yeah, I mean, for me, if it's down to the last possession, it's Kyle. And I would, as much as he's available to play, I would have the ball in Kyle's hands. I think he's the most prepared for these types of moments and can set people up for success, whether it's him closing out or he's dishing to an open shooter. And, like OG hit that game-winning shot, but it was 80% of the effort and decision-making was on Kyle's plate.
Taco Fall had something to do with that. But yeah, totally. It was all Kyle.
But I feel like Kyle did inbound the ball yesterday.
He did, but I think like he didn't get the ball back. There was definitely time for him, I think, in both games to be used like as an option. Yeah, but you know what though? That's interesting, Andre, because I feel like even last year we were flirting with like Norm as this guy who was closing certain quarters and closing games. Like, well, one thing I heard that changed my mind a little bit is that coaches really don't want turnovers, and often if you try a pick and roll or you bring another defender over, it just kind of creates chaos that's hard to control. Whereas like if you tell you're like a tall player who's really good to be like, make sure you get an open shot. That's kind of like more of a reliable thing.
I thought the Siakam possession to end the Portland game was totally fine, and he had not only a great attempt that I think percentage wise we'd all be happy with him doing kind of a little hook layup thing that frankly wasn't overly contested, and he got his hands on a rebound too. So I think there's no criticism on that front. It's a make or miss league. Like,
miss league, Doug. No, but to your point too, I think Kyle understands the end of the game more than anyone else. Yeah, it's such a weird year because it's like this Kyle torch passing season. Yeah. So we don't want to like over rely on him, but also it's like maybe he needs to show the guys a couple more times and be like, okay, now try. I don't know.
I also like Kyle. Like I think he's the best Raptor, and I think so highly of him. And I don't want him to like not play. But what I'm about to say is that I have noticed that you can tell he is a little older. He's still amazing and such a critical part of our team. But like in the last 2 games, like he wasn't really scoring a lot, but he was still so important to the plays that were happening. Does that? But like, I feel like like he could all. It's kind of like how Gasol, not even the same degree by any means, but how Gasol like still was so important because he was so strong defensively, even though he like stopped being able to score at all. It's not exactly the same by any means, but I feel like it has a little bit of a similar trajectory.
Well, I think Kyle's like, actually I was watching the Portland feed of the game yesterday, and they were just talking about how Kyle's one of the like, I think 3 or 4 players who's still playing at such a high level at 34, and he's going on 35. And like, what's weird about him is like his 3-point shooting, his just like overall IQ and activity, not dissimilar really to Gasol. I think that Gasol's trajectory is like much faster going down, but Kyle's like, for a point guard who isn't tall and can't jump that high and is losing lateral quickness, like I think he's done an amazing job of kind of like picking his moments in such a way that like he's just really stretching out his aging process. But like I too, I am noticing this year there's certain places where it seems like he loses his step, but then he goes off for like a little like his own mini run. So Kyle, I mean, I'm kind of the opinion that I'm all the way on the other side of like, what should we do with Kyle? And I'm like, make sure you get him for another 3 years.
I want to keep him too.
And I know, I'm not sure like about the money and or but I just think he's already showing glimpses of what he might be able to do from the bench, which is, I think, wreak havoc and win games. So that's something I'm interested in seeing maybe this year. I think that's like just a ridiculous thought for so many people. And I think there has to be this point in Kyle's career where it's like, okay, I'm not going for all-star games anymore, but I can still win rings. And I think I want that Kyle. You know what I mean? Sorry, I feel like I just
I think
kept going.
Yeah, no, I think it is a transition year for Kyle, right? Like it's kind of both a bridge season for him in his career, and it's a bridge season for the Raptors team as far as reconfiguring the pieces and reconfiguring the roles, and and like, throw a team in Florida and have them play like this insane schedule and be in this insane situation. Like I'm like, I don't know. It's not completely unpredictable what's happening this season. I think I've kind of had that thought in the back of my head that like, this is for better or worse, that transition year, and it comes faster than you think sometimes.
Yeah.
I was going to say, too, about Kyle going on the Raptors. Like, I didn't really truly realize until both Mark and Serge left how important they were both, like, not only on the court, but off the court, especially both of them. But just take Mark, for example. Like, I was pretty fine with him leaving. But then I was like, oh, man, his, like, even when he was on the bench not playing, like, his IQ and, like, watching the game and I think sharing what was going on with the players just made us so much better. Like the basketball IQ dropped off so much. And then also Serge is like camaraderie and like hypeness, I feel like is like those guys, we lost what they did on the court, but what they did off the court is like been like we've had bad vibes on the bench and like
we have a very like serious team. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, there's not a lot of like pranksters, like jokesters, and like, right now, like the lighthearted people are probably like Baines and like he's not playing well, so he's not cracking any jokes. But like Fred is very serious. Siakam's kind of serious. OG is like aloof and kind of, like he's not exactly Mr. Cheerful.
What's that, sorry?
I said Kyle seems pissed off, which is okay. I get it. But I mean, he's also not being fun Kyle, douchebag, putting his finger in somebody's like. Yeah,
no, it's definitely not. It's definitely not a season of like joy. And I mean, to Andre's point, it's like there's all this like tragically poetic stuff about like not having a home, you know, the pandemic, and to your point, George, it's like I think we're all feeling the cumulative negative effects of the combined powers of Serge and Mark, and the veteran just kind of like orb that a lot of people took for granted. And
I did.
okay, but that goes to my last Raptors question, and I'll go to you, George. And I think, I don't know, maybe I'm just like totally hopelessly optimistic, but after this last Portland loss, like I've been getting more optimistic on this road trip. And Nurse, you know, speaking about like how serious we have been, and Nurse I think has been pretty negative and really kind of like condemning the play of his players quite a bit. His tone changed a little bit. His tone was kind of like a more optimistic. It was kind of like he didn't like the question around like first or who's going to start, but he was kind of hinting at, you know, this like mystery seventh guy like Stanley Johnson maybe. He definitely didn't mention Matt Thomas. So anyone holding out for Matt Thomas, he actually mentioned like 4 or 5 guys before him.
That's a bummer.
It's just reading. Matt Thomas currently sits number 1 in the career Raptors list for 3-point percentage with 482. And I do believe he will remain there because I don't think Nurse is ever going to play him again. But yeah, we got like Utah, Stanley Johnson. I mean, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Baines, but Malachi, Terrence Davis. Like who do you think like should be the guy, George, as far as like, you know, and obviously it's going to go back and forth, but
yeah, I think it should be between Utah and maybe Stanley. Like it really depends. Like if they need defense, Stanley. Also, what I like about Stanley is like he gets a few buckets, but he's not that good at that. But what I like is that he is like a bench guy, but because he's been in the league for a while, he doesn't like let the refs push him around that much or other players. Like you see him stand up. And I always think that because he just seems like he has that confidence. Like I know what's going on. I think Utah has had some really powerful games and he's like picked up the slack where we kind of need it. Sometimes Terrence is fine. Sometimes he's really makes terrible choices. And is this answering your question? It is hard. It's not.
Yeah.
I actually also like. I think Malachi can be really great. I think, you know, to add to all the woes of the Raptors this year, which Andre already said, but like also the shortened training camp was really like not a good year for that to happen to us because we got like, you know, new centers, and then like if I think Malachi could be great. He needs a bit of time. It's like how Boucher always does better last season when he got to play longer minutes and stuff. Like, anyways, I don't know the answer, I guess. I would really like Matt Thomas to get a little bit better at defense because I would like him to be the guy, but you know.
I just typed in our chat. I think I'm echoing, but I maybe just was for a sec.
Seems okay now.
Okay, we're back. Well, that was the question, George, and Andre, like where are you at as far as like, you know, who Nurse should trust? I feel like that's something that I'm like kind of keeps coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for the highest potential to turn this thing around, like I kind of think it's Aaron Baines. I think,
me too.
You know, we've talked a lot about what we're missing from, you know, what Serge and Mark brought, and clearly that's why we brought Aaron Baines onto the team, and I think both his ability to get us to play a little bit bigger, and I think that will have some benefits for people like OG and Siakam to not have to bear as much of the burden, whether it's defending centers or trying to beat centers at the rim. So I would say that. And then the other thing is, I think if he can really turn it on, I think it gives us a veteran who's very exuberant and emotional, and I think can like help a lot if he's feeling good and he's pumped up. Like, you know, I do think it can really trickle down, because we have a lot of like individual emotion guys, which is really good because they kind of keep it contained. Like Siakam's like that, OG's like that, Fred is like that, you know, where like ups and downs, they're kind of keeping it to themselves, and they don't, you know, for better or worse, they don't always transfer their energy to their other teammates. Kyle's a little different, and I think Baines is somebody that, like, if he's up and he's confident and he's feeling great, like, he's going to lift the energy of the whole team, I think. So that's probably I for our long-term success this year, if we're going to turn this around and become a threat in the play-in match, which is really the ceiling right now that we're looking at. You know, I think it's Baines.
Hey, you know what? I used to say Raptors second in the East, and I've downgraded a little bit, but I'm still not play-in territory. I'm more so like, okay, 6, and you don't want to play us. But I mean, we'll see. I think we'll see how long my delusion holds on for, and maybe if we can get some game winners. Baines is. Sorry, go ahead, George.
I was going to say I have a question about Baines, but you might be about to answer it. So wait, sorry.
No, hit me with the Baines question.
I'm just kind of confused about what's going on with Baines, because I get that he was really stuck. He wasn't playing well, but like he's not. And Len was kind of playing better than him. All these things are true, but you know, Siakam was really stuck in right away too. I just don't really understand why Baines isn't even like really dressed to play. Like he is, I guess, but he knows he's not playing. And I don't really understand why he's not playing at all. Like it seems like there's something behind the scenes that maybe we don't know about, or did I miss something that they've talked about?
No, I mean, you know, it's definitely not something I've heard of, and I made this analogy last week, and I'm gonna like just take it stupidly even further, and that's like Nurse. You know, he showed up, and they're like, "Here's a Lamborghini," and he drove the hell out of it, won the race. Then he showed up, and they're like, "Here's an Audi." He drove it pretty well, but not like to the absolute best of its abilities, and came close. Now he's driving. Now he's driving a Chevy, and it's like he's overreacting like big time. So it's kind of like, oh, I took that turn too tight, and he's like, okay, let me just like slow it all the way down. And it's like he's figuring it out. But I think the Baines thing personally is an overreaction. Like I think he deserves minutes. Like to take him off the starting lineup and not play him at all is, I don't know.
Are you saying the team is those cars?
Kind of, yeah. That's my analogy. Yeah, Nurse is like some.
It just took me a second. I thought Baines was driving, but you're saying Nick is the driver and he got a Lamborghini. Yeah, I get it. Now it's a Chevy, and he's like, well, I'm actually used to people who can. That's how I feel about his defense too. Like Nick is an amazing coach, but his defensive schemes are really complicated, and you have a whole new team that didn't have a lot of time to rehearse. I'm an actor, clearly. Rehearse before they had to start the season, and maybe great. You don't need to take those turns so fast. You don't need to like push a Chevy to do things that an Audi can do. Like, yeah, I think that's a really strong analogy.
Oh my God. When you started by asking me to clarify, and I'm like, oh man, this analogy is going to suck.
No, it's so good. I just needed to like deconstruct it. I think that's exactly on it. I'm actually more mad at the front office than the players, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the front office didn't put us in the best position and kind of like needs to act. And sorry, just because I said act and you said like thinking about it as rehearsal and acting, I can't get this stupid image out of my head where like they're all actors and it's like some version of them doing like that stupid ending to the OA season 1. Like that's what basketball is. It's like everyone is like playing a part and nothing's real. But I think we should move on to some NBA stuff because there's NBA stuff going on. Maddie, good sir, keep coming with those quotes. I missed one. I'm sorry, viewers, that I didn't comment on it, but I missed one. I know I did. But Matt, Please, good sir, give me your most delicious NBA sting.
This is Adam Silver.
They go wild for it. The Adam Silver. I was gonna say Adam Sandler. The Adam Silver tugboat sting. It's a hot, delicious audio sting. Matt, see, I'm trying to get, we're a team here. Oh God. Let's go to you first, Andre.
Okay.
This is just like a classic, lighthearted early season question. It's just a coaching hot seat question. Who do you think is on the coaching hot seat? There's inevitably a coach or two or five or seven that get most of the blame for their team underperforming, and they get tossed. So who do you think it is? I'm going to pull up the standings while you do this too.
This is an interesting one because I think a lot of the bad coaches kind of moved jobs last season, and now we've got either a lot of brand new coaches or people that have been proven to be good. But I do think that our old buddy Dwayne Casey might be in a tough spot.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me
and
too.
it's not that he like necessarily did a bad job. I just feel like that whole Detroit situation's a tire fire, and nothing. It's almost like you got to strip it down to the studs, and there's very little redeemable in that organization right now. And yeah, I don't think it's necessarily that he's done a bad job. He's just probably the wrong guy for that squad and where that team is, and it might be a bit of the like twilight of his career, and he'll kind of go to being an assistant coach somewhere for a couple more years, and that might be that for Dwayne.
Yep, Dwayne's a good pick. George, who do you think might get let go due to? I guess any reason.
I was thinking about this question. It's hard to tell because I don't really know. Because this NBA season has been crazy. So the people who I would have expected before the season started, like those teams are weirdly actually playing kind of okay. I don't know.
I know.
Yeah,
like the Cavs or yeah.
Yeah, right. And the Knicks are even not like terrible, and even Sacramento, like I heard on the broadcast something like, this is where coaches go to die. I'm like, yeah, but they're not doing that bad. So I don't know. I don't really have an answer to this. Sorry. I don't think, I guess maybe Dwayne Casey, but I even think it's like not his, I don't know. It's like their front office.
Yeah, they might like wait till they're even a bit better to fire him. They might be like, once we get 2 more draft picks, we'll fire Casey. Because I think he's on a pretty big contract. I brought this up because of I read that Scott Brooks of the Washington Wizards was on the hot seat, which would make some sense. But yeah, Sacramento was kind of like my backup answer, but they're not doing that bad.
The Wizards aren't doing that bad, are they?
The Wizards are 3-8. And they do have Westbrook and Beal, so I think there are expectations there. But I felt like sorry, just for anyone who's checking this out on YouTube, we just got a hot message from Andre. New webcam ready to go. So there was some webcam stuff that is going to be solved. Let me tell you, mid pod. But George, let's stick with you here. And this is just like a however you feel question, no right answers. I kind of just want to have a conversation with you guys about like, we're all going through this pandemic, and it seems like the security or detail or planning or spread or whatever that, surrounded the bubble, and also the magic in the bubble in regards to like, Black Lives Matter and the movements and the platform that was created there. was kind of like so unique and special. And I brought this up on the pod before from like an entertainment perspective, like how to make it like more viewer friendly, but just, yeah, with coronavirus getting closer and games actually postponing, how are you feeling like as an NBA fan?
I'm feeling kind of frustrated as an NBA fan. I don't know if it's like the corona specifically. I think I'm actually feeling really frustrated more as a Raptors fan because of the Tampa situation. And I know that's not really totally tied to your question, but like
there's frustration to go around.
Also, did you see it came out today that Duncan Robinson said that when they were playing the Raptors, like he said it's really tough. Did you guys already talk about this? How he said it's so shitty for the Raptors because like all the fans in that arena are cheering for like other teams. So when he said like the fans were booing the Raptors and it was quiet, and then Fred just turned and screamed at that fan, "Put on your mask," or something like
that's bleak.
Yeah,
it's so super bleak.
So now there won't be fans anymore there, but anyways, it's all bleak. Like I thought it was actually a lot less bleak in the bubble, but that wasn't sustainable. I don't like that like people are getting coronavirus because it's deadly, but more realistically, it's just going to affect the way they figure out kind of the rest of their lives because of breathing issues. Like,
yeah, like that's really starting to kind of like, I guess, you know, and I like, you know, just in case, you know, anyone in the podcast thinks we're dancing around it. I mean, I don't want to speak for you two, but I can kind of assume it's extremely upsetting also as a Raptor fan watching this Terrence Davis situation play out. Mm-hmm. But, you know, and I think, yeah, I mean, we don't have to go down that route. And we, you know, I've talked about it on the pod before, but it seems like it's a bit too egregious as far as like we need to make money and safety will take it some if we can get some. Whereas in the bubble, it was like, okay, everything has to be safe to make money. You know, it's all this like one purpose. Sorry.
But I don't think the guys, like the other thing about the bubble, it's like they were going over top to make sure everyone was safe. But like, I don't think the players wanted to do that. Like,
no, it was rough for the players. Like lots of mental health issues, isolation. Like, it's a scary time in general. Like, the bubble was like a very convenient fan solution, and that's a really good point, George. By the way,
the other thing that I don't know, again, more specific to the Raptors, I don't know if you guys are soured over this, but like I feel like the organization must be like, I'm a little soured because I think the Raptors were kind of hoping the NBA would help pay for some of this like moving to Florida, and I don't think they did. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's how it came out. Like I think the organization is paying for all this, so it's like our team paid a butt ton of money to go to Florida where people don't even fucking want them there or like are going to cheer for other teams. It's like actually I live in the deadliest state, but it's just all shitty. It's all shitty.
Yeah.
On top of it, we're not playing well, and like at first I was obviously like bummed on the players, but I like watching them. I think they're playing fun. I just blame everything around them.
Yes, that's such a good point. Like I'm really enjoying the players we have too. So like I'm trying not to be too hurt by like trade this person and trade that person style conversation because I know that's just how like basketball goes. But it's like I truly do like and believe in most of the players we have, especially our core players. But yeah, Andre, just to kind of like feel free to comment on anything we've talked about, or just like, what's your overall vibe right now as an NBA fan?
Yeah, I mean, I'll contextualize it as a Raptors fan. It seems like we've had a like injury. And we haven't been given the opportunity to heal from it, you know, and whether that injury was just the bubble or whatever happened this off season. And I can only imagine there's just like so little joy in the day to day of this thing, right? Like the team's losing over and over again, which is horrible and must grate on people. And there's no exit ramp to go blow some steam off or feel good. And then when you're actually getting into like the purpose, like why are we here? The existential purpose of this thing. It's like, you're in Florida. Nobody wants you there. You're playing a game. This game is a distraction to all these people that are sick. And there's just very, very little to motivate, at the end of the day. So I think there's just an ongoing injury of psyche, of organizational stress. It's like a stress fracture, and we're just constantly jumping on it. And I'm sure Masai wants to fix some stuff. I'm sure Bobby wants to fix some stuff. I'm sure Nurse wants to fix some stuff. I'm sure the players want to fix some stuff. But it's like, where do you go to do that? You're not sitting in a gym for 8 hours working on stuff with your full staff and your full team. You're not in the boardroom at Air Canada Center drawing up G League plans to help out for player development. Like, there's just so much that just, it gets to the point where you're really just bashing your head against the wall. I mean, I have nothing but sympathy for these guys. And they've proven it for this Kyle Lowry era has proven that these are some of the toughest, most competitive, most selfless, most, it's impossible not to cheer for these guys and the culture that has been built. It's not the guys, we don't have the wrong collection of guys to make for a successful and enjoyable basketball product. To me, it's so much more the environment, and it's this world that they're living in. And I mean, they're in a lose-lose situation. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, you're bang on in so many ways. Like, with lose-lose, it's like, they're away. They have a home court even in this weird scenario. The existential thing of, like being in a place that you're not necessarily wanted, also as a distraction. And I mean, I really like the stress fracture that you kind of keep jumping on. And it's just, George,
sorry, I thought that
was, no, I loved it.
I was going to say they're like, it is such a lose-lose situation, because I feel like the answer of like not having this season is not a good one either, because if you just look at, especially for the Raptors, like Pascal's our best player. He started playing basketball quite late in his life. So I think when he took all that time off, when there was the break before you got to the bubble, his lack of like a lifetime of basketball really caught up to him in a way that other players didn't. Does this make sense so far?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
He's not a guy who can take a whole season off and come back great, I don't think. So I think like we maybe all just have to be okay with this season just sucking in order for the next season to be okay.
Yeah.
No, I think that's right. And I'm trying to figure out like a nice way to transition, but there isn't really one after I invite like an airing of the grievances. But you know what? Airing of the grievances is good. And do you want to do some quickish questions, you two?
Play that sting.
Okay, you know what? Andre, I feel like I want to let you take away. Like, please say, Maddie, give me that quickish question sting.
Maddie, give me that quickish question sting.
Quickish question.
Okay, I gotta let people do that more. It felt good. Although I thought maybe Matt was like not gonna play it for you and be like, no, only when you know what I mean, or something like I maybe disrupted the rhythm of the universe, but we're good. Sorry, I don't know. I thought someone was gonna say something for sure after that, and you know what? Sometimes pods don't work like that. But this is Quickish Questions. This is my stupid made up game where I read a bunch of listener questions as concisely as humanly possible. I'm going to stutter. I'm going to slur. I'm going to misread a comma. I might not, like if there's a question mark there, I'll hit it perhaps. But you know what? That's okay. You have to answer as quickly as humanly possible. You can't phone a friend. No delaying.
Fair.
Yeah, Matt, no stammering, like you can't ask me a question
No
back.
filibustering.
No filibustering. I like that. Okay, I think I'm just pulling it up here. Almost there, buddies. Here we go. And it's on. Okay, let's do George, Andre, Matt. Are we ready?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Sick. George. Next Raptor triple-double will be by...
Siakam.
Whoa.
I think so. Andre. What did you get Chris Boucher for his birthday?
Nintendo Switch.
Nice.
Yeah, with the Animal Crossing.
Oh my God.
I think he'll dig it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's cool.
Yeah.
Matt. Who is your next starting five for the? I jumped a question, but you know what? Sorry, I'll keep that. Who is your next starting five for the next game on Thursday?
Next starting five, I want Lowry, Fred, Pascal, OG,
Okay.
Boucher.
Woo. George.
Yes.
Who on the roster this year would you want taking the last shot?
Ooh. Well, if it's a 3, I want it to be Boucher. But, yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, Boucher's clearly the best. He should be in the 3-point contest. He's
really
amazing now. Andre. Short answer, remember. What is healthy fandom?
Letting go.
Wow. Folks, we got a poet. That wasn't sarcastic. That was you rocked it. Matt.
Yes.
Who is the tallest person you personally know well?
No, well.
That's right. Specified.
Oh, God. Who's the tallest person I know? Jeez, it's probably not that tall. I would say Adam Christie, but do I know him that well?
Yes.
He picks on me a lot on this podcast.
Anyone on the pod, you're good. And it's probably Adam Christie.
Yeah.
George.
Hey.
Where is Matt Thomas?
On the bench.
Correct. Andre. With the first 10 games out of the way, are you excited for the start of the regular season?
No.
Oh.
Cheers, Matt.
Yeah.
After these 10 games, are we making the playoffs?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, we're going to make this last question of Quickish Questions and the pod, and I'll play. George, after the last few games, is Pascal an all-star starter?
I think he is.
Andre, is Pascal an all-star starter?
No, I don't think so.
Matt, is Pascal an all-star starter? Oh, he turned up the music for himself. Wow, he only answers in sounds. Oh my God, that's harsh. I'm gonna even it out and say yes, even though I don't answer my own questions, but I just want it to be true. Okay, that's the pod. We made it to the end of this wonderful podcast. It's still snowing here, I think, in Toronto. LA, it's probably like nice and beautiful.
A little overcast.
A little overcast. Cheers. George, you got all sorts of stuff going on. I didn't mention that you're. Are you doing that all the time with the sports betting stuff?
Yeah. I work for, I work for the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and I put out a video every Monday on like what the best bets in the NBA are for that day.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's on. You can mostly see it on the site Better Than Vegas in Follow Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and I'm up there.
Cool. We'll check that out, everybody. Andre, what do you got going on? You want people to know about?
Sure. You can follow me on Twitter, Andre DePape, at Andre DePape. I'm planning to read a lot more books this year, and I plan to share the wisdom I gleaned from that book onto Twitter. So trying to be a little smarter.
Okay. And for folks that are, eager to get like a sneak peek, are they encouraged to corner you and ask your opinion on any book?
If anybody comes 5 feet from me, I will throw a hockey stick at you.
Yeah, you'll freak out because of the pandemic. Cheers.
Exactly.
Don't go near Andre. Period. Leave him alone. But if you're standing in a field and you want to hear his opinions on a book,
please, Twitter.
That's it. We made it to the end of the pod. Thank you so much for every bun that has been eaten this day. No, thanks for everyone who listens to this podcast. We're having a blast. And thanks for all the support recently. Like, things are kind of growing. So, I'm pretty sure we'll be coming for Joe Rogan super quick. This is the end of the pod. Share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Maddie, if you feel like we're good to go, please, good sir, just give me the okay.
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 Okay. We made it.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
This podcast has been brought to you by the Sonar Network.